And maybe we can start with an intro, like why are you interviewing me out of all of the people, and some background.
Yeah,
maybe something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. First of all, like we've been knowing each other now for like 5 or maybe 7 years, and you are my paid ad / influencer marketing guru. I mean, you've been doing this for a while now, so you've seen all the trends, and you have so much insights. And I texted you like last week, but hey, you should be in my podcast. Let's book. And you were like, yeah, let's do it on like Tuesday. So 2 days after we are in a call, and we also touched on like what should we talk about. I know last time we had a call together like a year ago. I think it was a webinar. We talked about UGC and how that plays out, during in the paid ads and Facebook Meta and all that. But then you mentioned like AI influencer. I'm like, yeah, that would be interesting too. Like, I don't have too much insights on it, so I'd love to hear more about that. And kind of how that plays out with, user-generated content. Will it be replaced by humans, or I don't know what the future is. But yeah, I mean, overall, like, a lot in this space, like performance marketing. You run your own agency, you run your own brands too, D2C brands, scaled from I don't know how many millions now dollar. So yeah, I think I'm talking about all this with the right person. But yeah, I mean, tell me a little bit more then. Why do you think, like, why do you want to talk about AI influencers? What's so interesting about that? Like, what's your insights on it? And what is it, first of all?
Yeah, absolutely. No, so like, based on like everything you just said, all of the years of experience, I see the trends come and go. I'm always living more in the future than in the present. So my main core, my job at my agency, my job at the brand side that I own, is that I always have to scout out like what is coming, not near future, but like distant future. 6 months from now is somewhat near future, but what's coming in 12 months, 24 months, so that we can prepare the organization. Like, the more we are, and we are getting quite many, the more we are, the longer lead time I need for preparation. So just the other day, last week, I had a whole webinar summit on how AI is changing the way that we are already working, and where I see it trending and where I see it going. And while I was writing the scripts for that, then you asked me to join the podcast, and part of that presentation was actually AI influencers, because I'm seeing this huge trend amongst many brands that they are getting more and more used to booking AI-generated influencers or virtual influencers. And we've seen this trend, like, it started 4 or 5 years ago with Miguela, an AI-created version, and then it's gotten better and better and better. And Miguela started generating tens of thousands of dollars in brand sponsorships. And this obviously caught the interest of the world, but it was still a lot of work around getting Miguela in different scenarios, a lot of add-ons, a lot of post-production work. Now, with AI booming for the past 16 to 18 months after ChatGPT released their 3rd version, it's been a whole different landscape. So I think this is super interesting to touch base on. We've seen many tools on top of ChatGPT, many tools collaborating with ChatGPT, and many other large language modules that are actually challenging the landscape. And I would say that in very, very near future, we're looking at 6, 12, and 24 months, where we'll see more and more of the AI influencers imploding into the space. And the ones that we are already seeing are racking up tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands followers. Now, many of them, the first ones, are beautiful female influencers. They are the stereotypical influencer personas. And that is fine for start, but what I'm seeing now is specific niche influencers, right? And I know you've spoken to others in your pods about this before, about the authenticity of niche influencers. When you're selling hair care products, you should align with hair care influencers. And I can second that, right? I own a hair care brand. It's been successfully growing with influencer marketing, and we know that we gain more authenticity and trust working with hair care specific niche influencers. And the difficult part with being a niche influencer is both the trustworthy credibility that you need to achieve, but also finding your audience in your own country, because it is very, very difficult to start growing more than 10,000, 15,000. But now what we're seeing is more and more AI influencers gaining traction in these specific niches, and it's much easier to create something with all of these tools. Like you just taught me how to edit the whole post-production of this what interview that we're doing, right? So you're recording this on an app, you're editing in the voice that we are recording on, and you're upping the qualities, the sound quality with AI. Then you're having text overlays, the subtitles done probably by AI. So you're doing most of it pretty quickly. And the same way that you are doing post-production, that I run my own podcast. I'm paying $250 per episode for post-production, but you're doing it hands-on manually pretty quickly. And I'm super impressed by that. At the same time, I'm looking at, okay, so what's happening in the influencer space with post-production? What used to take Miguela hours and hours in post-production for Miguela, the influencer, to succeed with, now takes minutes, literally, with different rendering apps. And we've played around with multiple of them. We've tried some AI content, and there are some regulations around this coming up. We've seen TikTok protests of like 12,000 parents claiming that the virtual influencers are not looking according to the standards, and they want to regulate this market. And a lot of things can happen, right? But we don't know where it's heading, and that is super exciting. So yeah, that was a long explanation on.
Yeah. But I'm
sorry for the monologue.
No, but I'm curious to hear. So it's one thing that is efficient to create content. Sure, like you will save time, you can create more content. But to become a true influencer and have this influence,
yep,
you need to do great content too. Like, do you think the AI would then do also the content that people really want to see, or is more like just the efficiency part, like we make content faster? Like, how do you get 10 or 1 million followers? I know a few of these AI influencers are huge, but there's just a few. Like, if you see the future of it, like, do you think AI will produce better content that we really want to see and watch and consume, or is it more just an efficiency thing? And
yeah, so there's two questions to that, and there's multiple ways this will go. And I definitely think that AI, like virtual influencer, will produce high quality output for sure. And we are already there. We see some really good niche influencers. Now, like I said, beauty standards and beauty influencers like fashion models have flooded the different platforms, and they are succeeding in gaining attention, likes, followers. But they still don't have the trust that we're talking about when we're talking about. It looks like we're going back to the Instagram era of 2014 or 2015, when all you had to do is post beautiful images and you'd gain followers. So that's what they're doing, and they are gaining followers, but brands ain't having any success other than like brand awareness and brand placement with these virtual influencers. Now, what we're seeing now and what I'm talking about, what is going to revolutionize is these niche influencers that will gather 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 15,000, maybe 30,000 followers, but in a super niche. For example, it's dyeing your hair or hair coloring. It's a specific thing that you have to learn and master. And I'm thinking that this will be controlled by someone that is already highly effective, but maybe doesn't want to be in front of the camera. What we have seen for the past 2 years is these faceless accounts that are exploding in both trust and also popularity. But now with apps like HeyGen, where you can translate all your content in the blink of an eye, and AI-generated virtual influencers with AI characters, you can actually decide, okay, how is this person going to behave, act, react, and then you can translate this niche content that you have in your small country like Sweden, where we come from, where it's only like 10 million population and only maybe a few thousand are interested in specific dyes of hair colors, right? So you can gain those few thousand in that specific country, but at the same time, you can grow the account in different languages in different countries, right? And you can then sell it as a package deal to a global brand like L'Oreal or Wella or something like this. You can sell those niche packages like, hey, I will make your new product explode across all of these countries. And this is the trend that I'm seeing, right? Not many have already produced this, but this is what I'm seeing in a near or distant future. We're talking about 12 to 24 months from now, when we're recording this podcast in 2024. And this is what brands should already start to look out for, because this will be a highly effective and very cheap method to reach a global audience in a trustworthy, niche-specific way. Well, that's my thoughts on it.
Yeah, but it's interesting. I'm still trying to figure out like the trust part, because that's the whole thing. Like if it's sales that is the kind of the end goal. Do you think so your take is that if it's a niche profile, the trust will be kind of there, no matter if it's AI or a real person?
Yeah.
Or how do you get the trust? How do you build the trust with an AI profile when it's not a human?
Yeah, but it's still a human behind the AI controlling what the AI says, does, and does everything, right? So it's just like a character in a movie that can gain a lot of trust. You know, some people watch Suits and think it's a great character behind it, but it's just reading a script in there, and then you trust the celebrity somehow. But what have they done to achieve that trust in reality? Not that much in essence. Now, of course, this will be a character that is scripted by most likely either a human or a large language model that has access to millions of blog posts that humans previously have written. Because let's face it, all these AI models are trained on human input data. So human has to train the large language model. It's just like a database on crunching large number of data to understand a topic. So you can script what the AI influencer or virtual influencer in essence will say and do very, very good. Like I'm using AI tools daily to ask about medicine, lawyer stuff, documentation, transcription. You know, you're getting used to that type of it. And I'm seeing that the content output is very, very good, right? I'm learning from them. I'd rather ask ChatGPT a question today than go to Google and try to find it myself. Many times, not always, but quite often. And this will only escalate. So in the same way, we will see niche influencers in product-specific and in product-specific areas have tons of data to back it up. I just launched a brand in red light therapy recently. It's very, very niche, right? And many in Sweden don't know what it is. Like I would say maybe 99% of the Swedish population has no idea what red light therapy will do to your skin and how it will improve your energy levels. Now, I had to learn a lot before getting into this business and before investing into it. And what I've learned is mostly that there's so much research going on. There's been like 50,000 articles published on this topic. Now, it's impossible for me to read all of these articles manually. So what you can do is have an AI summarize, categorize, read it through. And then you can have that same AI script what an influencer later will start talking about on the screen, educating people based on scientific data. And based on that, you can also change the tone of voice. This is one of the biggest issues we have with influencer marketing as well, because specific influencers have their specific tone of voice, and they don't gain popularity across different countries because they are very, very specific to a specific, like say Sweden. We have our way of living, our way of working, our way of communicating. Our interests aren't the same as like you're in Japan right now. It's a totally different culture. Now, with the same knowledge database, I can just switch the tone of voice of the virtual influencer that I'm publishing in Japan versus the influencer I'm publishing in Sweden. And they can also edit the avatar to be more native. And you can't really put a human up to the task. It would take ages, a lot of time, and be quite impossible.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I can kind of see it now how that could play out. But also, the more I'm thinking about the script and the trust part, just looking at the influencers we have today, like many of them are just reading a script and it feels like a robot. And in the end, like the robot or the AI influencer and the robot influencer, like the human, both of them are trying to sell something. And we can kind of spot that either way. And it does sometimes, maybe that doesn't really matter. But yeah, that's. But then if the future is AI influencer, or like that's, I guess, one way to test out for brands. Is it possible to book any AI influencers today? Do you have any rates? Like, do you have any insights on how that could look like, or if it even works today? Like, if I'm gonna book an AI influencer today, what would it cost? Like, what would the process be? Do you have any insights?
Yeah, so we worked with an AI virtual influencer, that they call themselves. Now they don't say AI influencer, but they say virtual influencer. So we worked and booked with them, and it's usually someone behind the influencer. It's an influencer agency, a marketing agency, or just a normal regular person that doesn't want to sit in front of the camera, that sits on a lot of information, that generated their own character, and that character gained popularity. And for brand awareness sake, like I said in the beginning of the podcast, it's quite efficient right now, because you pay the CPM that you pay for a virtual influencer, I would say, is lower than what you pay the actual influencers, and you can get more specific tailored content without much hassle. Like there isn't going to be a lot of discussion back and forth. You won't get revisions back and forth that are inaccurate of what you thought, because you can script it much yourself, and they will probably push it out. Now the AI, the virtual influencer, the people managing them are also human beings. They think and act rationally, like they see that influencer being an influencer. So they have meetings on what will what will our AI character do this week? What is our AI character going to eat this week? What are we going to publish this week and the upcoming weeks? So they have a real fictional character. It's like you're scripting a movie or a TV show or whatnot. So you have people gathering around making the decisions. And like I said, right now it's mostly beauty influencers, going on for the looks of it, and not talking that much yet. We're seeing them in videos, dancing, lip syncing, but we ain't seen this trustworthy niche influencer type of content. But there are applications now where I experimented just the other day, and we have published ads with applications where you can create your own AI character. That character you can give any type of script, and it feels like it's user-generated content. And I saw this around a month ago or 3-4 weeks ago on TikTok, and it kind of blew up. And it's an app, it's a tool called Creatify, and you just select your avatar, and you select the script based on the URL. So you just input a URL to your product. It will give you 3-4 script ideas. It will give you an avatar, and that avatar can have a green screen effect on it, or other popular formats that you've seen on TikTok or on advertisement in general. And then you can have it say pretty much anything, right? And it will be very authentic. So user-generated content is the first thing at risk, I would say. These AI influencer or virtual influencer niche product influencers is going to take a while. We're looking at 12 to 24 months away before people have gained popularity, dubbed it in different languages, launched it in different areas, and have a lot of accounts. Like the same way that 5 to 10 years ago, you could book travel influencers that didn't travel themselves, they just reposted or repurposed other content. If we had a group in Sweden that ran a lot of male like fashion accounts. They had men with class, men with street style, men with street food and stuff, like men with group. And then at the same time, you had these travel influencers that had like epic travels, epic journeys, epic this, awesome travels, awesome anything. They just repurposed what other people were posting on their Instagram. And they did this 9 times a day, and they could quantify it. And one person could run 9 accounts. And all of these 9 accounts could have millions of followers. And it was super impressive because they could rack up those brand sponsorship deals from hotels around the world, from vacation destinations, and they still do. This isn't something that's just gone away. In the same way, I predict that people will actually create these AI avatars, have these virtual influencers in different languages, different niches, and then sell these packages to brands like ours. Like I run a hair care brand, I have a jewelry brand, I'm now into red light therapy, I have a brand that creates cleaning products. So of course, if someone comes up to me and says, hey, I have this specific group of niche content creators that are virtual, that have high authenticity because all they do is spit facts, and they are rarely wrong, right? Because it's based on research or data or human input. And I will sell this package to you for $1,000 a month. You will get attention across, I don't know, 8, 10, 15 countries in Europe. I'd be all over it.
Yeah. But the virtual influencer you booked through this for this agency. So yeah, how did it go? Like, what was you said it was lower CPM. Can you give some numbers, and just so people can get an idea of like the process of doing it and what they can expect if they want to test it out?
Yeah, so just like any influencer, they needed a brief. They wanted a prepayment, in this case on 50% because we're in a different country. And we did settle on it. We paid $800 for an influencer with shy 200,000 followers. And it wasn't in the beauty industry. And we did need some content in that native language. So they scripted like a proposal on, here's how it's going to look. Here's the scenery that we are thinking about. Sent us a quick mood board, and we were like, yeah, we're all over it. Let's try, because it's new. And I just wanted to get into it because of the novelty. I didn't think this was going to convert massively, and it didn't convert massively. I can't go into details, but it did convert, but not huge amounts. But we did get a lot of brand awareness. And since we were launching in a new country, we were more out for the clicks, the awareness, and the novelty of it. Like, there are so few virtual influencers today that sometimes you follow them just for the sake of following them, right? You don't follow them for the trust or the fun. You're just like interested in how is this even possible, and you just want to follow them.
And the other tool, Creatify, I don't remember the name, but how did that go down? Like creating your avatar, giving them the script. What was I guess the process was, I think you mentioned the process, but what was the result? Like, do you think that could be in the future? Will you use it again, or was it just also test out and maybe it's not like ready yet?
No, I would say for ads, this is definitely usable right now. You can use it, and it's all based on the script, the input that you have. It's highly trustworthy. Like, after a while, you can notice that it's virtual content, and it's not a real user-generated person, but it gets more difficult if you start adding your own avatars. And you can upload a video of yourself, just a 2-3 minute clip of yourself talking, and then that's enough. Or any other, like maybe an AI-generated person, that then you can generate really realistic images and then have them in motion. So this is something we tried. We launched the ads end of last week, and it's early to say if it's performing or not, but the key indicators right now are pretty good. But then again, there are some of those variants that are pretty bad, so it's performing just like any other user-generated content that we've seen. The problem with user-generated content today, according to me, is that it's dying. A lot of the same, usually girls, are approaching brands with this high enthusiasm, and it has just exploded for the past 6 to 12 months. And everyone thinks that they can be a UGC creator. They call themselves user-generated creators, but in reality, it's very plastic, it's very scripted. They have never used the product in reality. The whole idea with how user-generated content started was that you sold products to an audience, they filmed themselves using your product, published it on Instagram, and then brands approach it and say, hey, can we use this content in ads? Because it looks very authentic. And that sparked this 4 or 5 years ago. It was super popular, especially in US. Then it came to Europe and took the whole ad market with storm. But today, 8 out of 10 ads are user-generated or scripted user-generated, and most of it is scripted. And people see through this, because when everyone does something, then it's no longer effective, it's no longer unique. The same way that we saw influencer marketing that are very generic influencer marketing kind of die along the way. All of these big brands that used to be able to send gifts to thousands and thousands of different micro-influencers, it used to work 5, 6 years, 7 years ago. Now it's dead. You can get some brand awareness out of it, but you can't generate sales. The same way we're seeing with user-generated creators right now. I don't think it's user-generated, first of all. It's almost like hiring actors and having them say something in front of camera and acting all excited. And sometimes the creator is really, really, really good because they're authentic. They actually love the product. But much of the times, I would say 7, 8 out of 10 times that we receive content back, it feels fake. Like in my bones, I can feel that this is fake. And it's like hard to explain, but it is dying. And the evolution of user-generated content is that you need to book creators that feel authentic to your brand. This is super, super important. I can't stress this enough. And add multiple variations, not 2, 3 variations. Add 10, 15 different variations on the first 2 to 3 seconds, the hook, as we call it, and measure it in your ad platforms. That's the only way that you will be able to succeed and successfully scale your D2C brand nationally or globally. It's impossible to bet on 1 or 2 creators and then have 1 or 2 videos and then publish it in 1 or 2 weeks. It's like playing roulette or bingo and hoping to win the lottery.
Yeah. So what? That's interesting. What's then your recommendation? Like, how many creators? How many variation of the content piece? For how long should you run it before you close it down and need to find someone new? Could you just give us a kind of like a roadmap on that, or just an example for brands to follow?
So we do this right now. We do this in masses, and we just assume that 7 out of 10 or 8 out of 10 creators won't provide good enough content for us. And sometimes we don't even publish the content because it looks too generic, or we can see through that this doesn't feel authentic. We don't even publish it. We obviously pay the creators, but we use this just as in masses, because we need the quantity of it so that we can cherry pick what we're going with. Because in the end, you're paying more for ad spend than you're paying for content creation. So you need to be really, really selective on what you actually put out there, both for your own brand's sake, but also because you're going to be paying Facebook or TikTok the ad dollars that you could be earning instead. So the playbook right now is for user-generated content, like creators book them in masses, have a lot of variations per creator. I'd rather pay an additional 500 SEK or $50, $50 to get another 3, 4, 5, 10 variations of it. And you can easily script them with ChatGPT based on research. We have our own GPT-3s, like our own trained models for each of our brands. We have Elsa for Mockberg, for example, and she knows the brand, the brand tone, and she can easily script new hooks based on an effective script that we want to say. Like if we have a get ready with me video, now that video needs to start in different ways to get the attention, because that is the difference between millions of views or thousands of views. It's really the start that needs to grab the attention, and then of course you need to keep the attention and get people to your website. But the experiment with these different creators is key here. Now, another thing that we do is we try to find authentic users of our product. We look into our order database and we see if there is someone that has ordered more than 3, 4, 5 times if it's a repeat purchase type of brand, and most of mine are. And then we try to see, okay, does these people have any Instagram accounts? And it is difficult, but we find a way to scrape the names and then see if their email addresses matches anything in our database. And if we find that they do have Instagram accounts, I think you can do this through Scope app. I'm not 100% sure, but I've seen you pulling data, posting it on LinkedIn. But it's quite interesting to do, because what we can do then, if we know that we have people who actually bought the product who are also doing some form of content, doesn't even have to be a content creator, it could be family content that is public to their family, then we approach them and we try to barter some kind of deal where they will be our brand ambassador, because they actually love the product. They've came back time after time after time. They maybe even left a review that is splendid. So the likelihood of them accepting is very, very high. And they will be super thrilled to work with the brand that they actually align with, they actually love. And the content that you get back from these collabs is worth taking the extra minutes to find.
I love that. Just going back to basically your Shopify database, see like
exactly
what do we see here, like what type of customers. You probably see age, you can see a lot of information about them. And honestly, like you don't even need any processes. You can just like take out the top 50 of your profiles, put someone on it, like, or yourself, go in and search for them. Yeah, I would just then search for their name, Instagram.com or something on Google. There's different queries you can do, and you should get them on the top list, like top results. Just go in there. If it's private, I guess follow them and DM them. If you follow, they'll probably follow back. And if they have an open account, which is a few thousand, then it's probably a great UGC creator. And they're maybe more open or good at just talking. You know, some are just more introvert, maybe don't want to talk even in front of a camera. But if it's a public account and they are a customer, that's like gold. So I love that kind of process and that hack. Another thing I mentioned to a customer or a brand a week ago, because they were like, we just want to find a lot of UGC creators. And I'm like, yeah, but there's a bunch of them and some of them they don't even name that they are a creator, like a UGC creator. And it's just a lot of people. I said, like, do the reverse. Just find a lot of great people, gift them. If they love the product and post about it, they love it. And then you capture all that. So you capture everyone that just posted. And the ones that don't post, skip them because they probably don't love it. And the ones that post, if it's 30% post rate, great. Like just optimize for a high post rate. The ones that post rate, you collect the content, you review all the content, the stories, and just watch what they do. If you think they are doing great content, great. Contact her and say, hey, I want to buy that piece plus 10 other pieces. Can you do this? It's kind of like,
it's an interesting.
Yeah, it's just a different approach. I like your approach a lot too. Just do the mass and then take the 30-20% that are good. But I guess the approaches are kind of similar. I think that is better.
Yeah, yeah,
there's a lot of people
gifting
that are
and
not
then
doing it.
yeah. No, I agree. Like gifting and then approaching people is definitely solid approach, because then you know that if they published anything around your brand, they're probably interested in collaborating with the brand, and you have high likelihood of it being more authentic. It doesn't necessarily mean it will still be authentic, but it's higher likelihood than picking a random content creator, especially these that
Yeah.
nowadays contact brands. We get at least 15, 20 creators contacting our brands each and every week. Hey, we want to do this and this for your brand. Hey, love your brand. I love your products. It's pretty much the same script, but it's like when we used to contact influencers, but in reverse.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It exploded. But to go back to,
Absolutely.
I want to go back to just the virtual influencer or AI content creators.
Sure.
Do you think it could be just an over, like, how do you say, like, just too much content that people after a while don't care about it, and then it's just not an effect at all because there's too many people doing the same high care niche AI influencers pushing, and on top of that, do you think then Meta or TikTok will market as AI or something like this is not a human, and then the whole idea of doing AI content will just die? Like, have you thought about that? What's your take on that?
So Meta actually published an article that it is in process of marking ads that are with virtual content in it, no matter if it's something. It is still very, very difficult because you can't spot that it's AI-driven content, and AI applications are getting better and better, more sophisticated. It will be difficult, to say the least, to identify a content piece being AI generated. Difficult is the like first name of it. It's very, very difficult. Okay. That said, yeah, I think there will be regulations pretty soon, but it's not against virtual influencers that these regulators are targeting. They're not targeting the ads behind it, because what's the difference between having a virtual influencer say things in a scripted way, or having an actor say it, or a content creator say it? Like, the difference is neglectable. It's still an ad. As long as it's marked that it's an advertisement, I think people in general will understand that they're being sold to. Now, on the other hand, what these regulators are trying to achieve is that the use of swaying politics, like we're seeing now in some countries with mass propaganda that is AI driven. I have an employee in Ukraine that gives me a lot of information, and he sent me a lot of propaganda that both sides of the war are using, that is very AI driven and fake, pretty much. And it's horrible to witness such a thing. I mean, we're spared, most of us are spared living in the West world, and from those images and scenery. But I think that is what the regulators are targeting firsthand, and then scammers, terrorists, these types of illegal activities. They don't want you using a celebrity in order to scam someone, or
like deep fakes.
Yeah, exactly. Like deep fakes have splurged in there. So I think that type of content is what is going to be targeted. I really, really don't think that virtual influencers, just because they are virtual, will have less of an influence than a human will have. It's still a character. And even if it's a human being, you're still only posting one side of that influencer's life. And that this has also exploded in the last years, where authenticity is more and more valued. And these, what they call it, plastic influencers that only post glamorous images of their beautiful lifestyle, wonderful families, amazing food. They aren't
The same.
as yeah. So what's the difference? Like it's the same. You're only showing a part of your life, not all of it. And I think that the counterpart, so what we will see in like 6-12 months, is more and more virtual influencers that feel more authentic, more body positive, more real than real influencers, right? Because they are, how real are real influencers is another topic. Like, are they authentic? Are they themselves? Is this actually how they live their life? I could doubt that they are. Like, you're posting what a small portion of your life, and that small portion is usually the best parts of the day, the best parts of your food, the best parts of your scenery, the most beautiful surroundings. It's not when you're sitting at home working or something like that.
Yeah. The more I'm thinking about this whole space, it would be interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if Meta, or I guess Instagram, would create then these AI tools to create your own virtual influencers. And when you have them as a, they have their own account. So whenever I, as a just follower, comment and say, I love that picture, where did you buy it? It will just automatically answer it, right?
Yeah.
Like
they already have.
That's already, okay, so this is already there.
It's already there. So it's not on Meta, it's on TikTok. TikTok just launched 2 weeks ago its own AI program where you can create scripted AI generated tools and replies, responses. It's not automatic yet as you just envisioned it, where if someone asks a question, it replies. But you can actually sell products with AI content that TikTok provides. And you can do that right now.
Can you just, before we sum up the whole episode, but can you just go through that? So what's the more deeper insights on that and how that works?
Look, I'd love to do it, but I just read about this last week that they launched it. We haven't experimented it, and this is so recent, so new to the whole industry that what I'm reading is you can sell products based on AI-generated content that TikTok provides in the platform, built in for you. And TikTok has been, I think, the leading social media platform for new tools for brands to experiment with. They have the Creator Studio where you can find the creators. They have you can find trends pretty fast. You can identify filters that are trending, sounds that are trending, and they have it like an open library. And they are very, very quick on new things. So I'm not surprised that they already developed their in-house AI mechanisms so that you can promote and push your advertisements. And what they are saying is that you can soon do this in live streams. And that will be pretty exciting because a live stream is live and you can answer questions with AI or virtual influence on a live stream. That's pretty wicked.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I can really see either they will give the AI kind of tools access to it for their agency partners, and then the agencies would create these AI influencers that they will then sell out, like to brands and so on. So maybe the agencies will be the ones that create the creators through the access of the AI and the data that TikTok kind of owns, or I guess have. I don't know. Yeah, I'm just thinking out loud.
No, yeah, possibly. I think that they're trying to beat the market and they know that they will be flooded with AI content, and they will be flooded with AI content in ads, AI virtual influencers, whatnot. They know that they will get there. And for them to be able to identify that this is artificial intelligence behind this content piece, they create the tools to make the artificial intelligence in their platform, and then they can definitely label it, mark it, watermark it, tag it that this is AI generated, so that in the future they can tag that this is AI generated. Now, again, most virtual influencers actually say in their bio that they are virtual influencers. They don't hide or shame them being that, and they gain popularity because it's still novelty. It's like anything else. They're first on a bandwagon, they're first on a trend, so they gain followers because people are speculated, fascinated. How is this possible? Where is this heading? What can this AI virtual person do next? Which scenery can you put it in? So they follow, so you gain popularity by it being virtual. So right now, most people are marking that, hey, I'm a virtual influencer. This is a virtual influencer. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. But I guess then the next step, I mean, if we go to the final kind of point, like the future of AI influencers or virtual influencers, would you then say that it's these niche categories that you just mentioned before? Like, if you want to become or create your own influencer, then I would, you would focus on different niches like hair care or, I don't know, horse riding or whatever niche that is out there. Go for all the niches and kind of localize them too on top of that. So it will work in Asia, it will work in Europe, etc. Do you think that's the future, or what will you add on that?
No, yeah, I do believe that these niche influencers are what's going to be scaling and what's going to be best for the brand side. But they are not going to be the biggest ones or the ones that you see read up in newspapers, make the biggest noise, because they're still niche and they'll be tiny accounts of 5, 10, 15,000 followers. Now, on the flip side, if we think about the long-term aspect of it, the big influencers are still going to be fairly generic, like we have today, lifestyle influencers. Those will be the ones that gather the most attention, not necessarily the highest converting or the lowest CPMs on the market. So we'll have both types of influencers, and the generic ones, the lifestyle ones, will be in a higher demand, so to say. It's going to be more people creating that type of lifestyle, because it's easier. First of all, it's easier to create videos and images around a lifestyle influencer than it is a niche influencer. And then those niche influencers will be most likely be created by industry leading experts. So if you're a nail technology expert, then you will create a nail technology account that will explode in different languages and be a virtual influencer, like your virtual self. It could even be yourself in a virtual environment. It doesn't necessarily have to be a generated person. It could be yourself speaking in different industries. So yeah, this is the future for our brands, the ones that I've invested in, the ones that I'm scaling, and I'm sure that others listening to this podcast will start thinking in these paths. And
For sure.
this is my whole reason for speaking up on this. I don't like to gatekeep information, and you know me, I'm very open.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. So, I mean, this was a great call. This was a great conversation. I learned a lot. And definitely go in on LinkedIn, search for Fedja, connect with him. I mean, he knows a lot about everything in this space. But yeah, thanks for sharing all this. And it's great timing that I, reached out to you last week when you were, working on this presentation. So yeah. Thanks for joining.
Thank you for having me, and hope all of our listeners could learn one thing or two, or at least like open up their minds around things. And of course, everything is highly speculative around AI influencers, so don't bite my head off in 12 months if it doesn't happen. Usually the us humans as a race, we tend to think that things in the next 12 months will explode much faster than it does, and we underestimate our capabilities in the long run. So we maybe this will be the case in with virtual influencers as well, but I highly think that it will change the industry in the near and distant future.
Yeah, 100%. Nice.